beds that we're transferring from full sun to almost full shade. And so we're starting out with a Conocloa. This particular one is called Benicaza. It's a relatively new one. It's mostly green, so it will take a little bit more sun than the Aureolas, and its claim to fame is that it has a little red tinge in the fall. Next to it we have, this is also called Japanese forest grass. This one is Aureola, which is the perennial pick of the year for this particular year, 2009. It's wonderful. It grows about, maybe a foot tall and 2 or 3 feet wide once it gets into its full mode in about 3 years. It has wonderful variegation. It lights up the shade. It just needs a little bit of afternoon sun to protect it from burning. And beyond that we have the all gold Conocloa, and that one is absolutely wonderful in the shade. With a little bit of morning sun, it takes on a wonderful chartreuse shade. It's not variegated, but it also needs a little bit of afternoon shade. Now the other grasses that are in here are also shade grasses. This particular one is a carex called nightshades. You don't see it really often, but it's a cousin to Bull's Golden, which is on the end. Bull's Golden has greener foliage, and it has a dark green edge on the leaves. It grows about 16 to 18 inches tall. Nightshades is more lime green, and it doesn't grow as tall. It's not quite as robust, but it also doesn't have the habit of the leaves weeping over quite as much as Bull's Golden does. So if you have deep shade and some water, that is a really wonderful grass. In the back there is Carex Sparkler. That's a very interesting grass. It has the wonderful little variegated whorls that grow about 2 feet tall, 2 feet wide, and it makes a wonderful pot plant in that it just completely fills out, and it's wonderful just by itself in a pot. Then in the front here we have Millennia variegatus, which also is a Northwest plant pick, great plant pick, and it's wonderful in that it just is this nice little mound of grass that's variegated. Along about the first part of July, it has the inflorescence that come up that actually have dark seed heads on them to begin with, and then they fade to the buff. But it's a wonderful border grass. It just has a very nice variegation throughout the entire season. It is deciduous, so it does turn tan in the fall, but it does keep its structure. And then behind those we have 3 Calamagrostis Eldorado, which is a new variety, new patented variety that has the gold variegation in the middle of the leaves, as opposed to Overdam or Avalanche, which has the white variegation. It's a really lovely grass and also lights up the shade. Any grass that's variegated will take a little bit more shade than one that's not variegated, so you can put the Eldorado in a little bit of shade and still have it do well. Eldorado, the growing habit tends to be just a little bit more of a mounding variety than Carl Forrester, which is very, very upright. But it's nice that it does have the gracefulness to the leaves, because the variegation catches the sun and it makes it look very bright and beautiful, so that's a good thing. It does have the same type of seed heads that Carl Forrester does. They come out fluffy in about the first part of June, and then they turn into a real tight little inflorescence and blow in the slightest breeze all winter long.